Now we're coming to my favorite part of the brain, which would be the diencephalon region. So the diencephalon is not all that large, it's just right in here where I'm circulating around. But I really like all of the structures in here. I think they're fun to learn about. So the diencephalon includes the thalamus, which you can see right here. It's kind of like an oval or egg shape, but that is the thalamus, which has the intermediate mass right inside of it. You can see more of that thalamus right here with more intermediate mass. It also includes the epithalamus. So this one is kind of hard to pinpoint exactly where the epithalamus is on these models, but I just like to remember that the epithalamus comes behind and above the thalamus. So if here's my thalamus, my epithalamus has to be back here. So some might consider this to be part of that choroid plexus of the third ventricle. I'm not sure if the makers of this model meant it to look like that, or if they meant for this right here, to this little pink bulb area, to be the pineal gland. But a good thing to remember is that in that epithalamus region, it would be back here on this half, in that epithalamus region we have the pineal gland, which helps with melatonin, or is responsible for melatonin production. So I am guessing, I really think that this is the case, but I think that this is supposed to be that pineal gland right here. So this would be our epithalamus behind and in back of, which leaves this to be our thalamus, which makes this section right here labeled, not actually sure what that is, a G, I believe, labeled G. This is our hypothalamus. The hypothalamus, we've learned a lot about that and the role it plays in our endocrine system. But this is the hypothalamus, and I'll show you down over here because I think this is clearer. More of that hypothalamus leading down to the pituitary gland along that infundibulum. So here's our infundibulum, and here is that pituitary gland. And if you look from below, our pituitary is labeled number 46. Now I'm going to take a minute to show you that squishy brain, that squishy brain found in the small mannequin models. On page, I believe it's page 26, your edition of this lab manual might be a little bit different, but on page 26 you find a section devoted to the small human mannequin models, and this is that brain. So the first thing that I want to point out is that number 44C, the falx cerebri, or falx cerebri, depending how you want to pronounce it. So that is actually not shown on this model. Basically what the falx cerebri is an extension of the dura mater. So when we were dissecting those sheep brains and had to cut off that fibrous covering, that's the dura mater. And the falx cerebri is just an extension of the dura mater that would come down right in here between the two hemispheres. So the dura mater goes around and the falx cerebri comes down in between the two hemispheres. 44A is considered to be our cerebrum. 44B right here is the corpus callosum. 44C again is the falx cerebri. You can see that on the upright mannequin model at the back of the lab. The next structure that they want to point out is 45A, which I think they have it labeled down here, which is our cerebellum. 45B, let's get this situated. 45B is the arbor vitae right here. 46 is the pons, and I'm not going to keep moving this around, but this would be 46. This is our pons right there. The medulla oblongata would be 47 right here. You can actually kind of faintly see the numbering. 46 for the pons, 47 for the medulla oblongata. The thalamus is labeled 48A, so you can see that right here. The choroid plexus is labeled 48B, and you know, I don't think I can really see the label for that, but here would be our choroid plexus right up there. And then the last thing that they want to point out is 49, which is the hypothalamus, and you can see that right here. So before I finish up this video on the brain, I just want to point out all of the ventricles that you're going to want to know for the exam. You have 4 ventricles that are listed. Let's get them right here. We have ventricles 1 and 2, which are also called, and what you would call them on a practical, the lateral ventricles. And these are massive. I mean, they're big, big structures. So all of this wing structure is a lateral ventricle. Then ventricle number 3 is this middle area right here. It's not very big, but so this is ventricle 3, and you can see this pink region on it. That's considered to be a choroid plexus. It's the choroid plexus of the 3rd ventricle. Then we have the cerebral aqueduct right here, separating ventricle 3 from ventricle 4. And ventricle 4 also has a choroid plexus, which is this pink area right here. So again, ventricles are spaces in the brain where you would find cerebrospinal fluid running through the brain. And so we have our lateral ventricles, ventricle 3 with a choroid plexus, the cerebral aqueduct, and ventricle 4 with another choroid plexus.